Hi, I'm Ryan Hunter, and this is Kalispell Connections, a program where we talk about issues important to the community. With me today is Leanna Troesh, the Executive Director with Undaunted Family Connections. Hi, Leanna.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first, tell us what is Undaunted Family Connections?
Undaunted Family Connections, we're a new organization. It was launched back in June of 2020 in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And we're here supporting families that are dealing with struggling, like challenging family dynamics. So that's anywhere from working with parents one-on-one or working with youth, teens generally, working with at-risk teens, and just kind of working on their family dynamic and building those relationships.
And what was the origin of, you're fairly new. How did you come about to found the organization and bring it to the Flathead Valley?
So that is through my own experience of having an at-risk teen. So about 3-4 years ago, my daughter was really struggling, and just a lot of family life circumstances, having a big move and a loss of a dear family member. So she really started struggling. And as I was seeking help, I just really struggled to find resources that could help provide those services, or that we can even get into. And I had to go outside of the state, and I received parent coaching. I had never heard of it. I also had received an education consultant to help me find these resources also. So this is just stuff I had never heard of. A huge belief that I have is, as parents, we just don't know what we don't know, even as human beings. So when we kind of started coming out the other end, I just thought it was something that would be the Flathead Valley needed desperately. And to be able to provide these services also at an affordable rate, because that was also another thing, is parent coaching is really popular in larger cities. It's really well known. A lot of parents are involved with some kind of coaching for their youth, and for their families, but you're paying out of pocket because insurance just doesn't cover it. So for the Flathead Valley and these resources I thought were so vital, I really wanted to provide these services at an affordable rate for families. So hence the start of a nonprofit rather than a for-profit.
And so this parent coaching, what is it that you're coaching the parents? What generally kind of what do you provide them in terms of ideas or strategies?
Right. So I'm an ICF certified parent coach and life coach. So in an ICF certified coach is International Coaching Federation. It's one of the top recognized coaching certifications that you can get. We have competencies, a certain amount of hours and core competencies and ethics that we have to follow and standards that we have to follow. And so specifically with the parent coaching, we sit with parents and really find their strengths. We take them from where they're at right now in their family dynamic and the challenges and the struggles and the chaos. And we look at what their strengths are, look at possibly what some of their weaknesses are, what their gaps are, and we come up with a primary focus, generally, 1, 2, or 3 primary focuses. A lot of them are in conversations or communication with their kids and how they can become better communicators. And we just work week by week. We set up weekly sessions and we work with them through just kind of what their family struggles look like that week and how we can best work on their strengths to get them to their primary focus in the end. Our sessions are 12 weeks. We've just come up with a 6-week program that has been working for a lot of parents as well. But so it's strength-based. It's a coaching model to look at what's worked in the past for them. And it's also has a focus on working with at-risk youth. So really challenging dynamics as far as not so much looking at the youth as having the issues themselves and wanting to change the issues, but really turning the focus back on the parents and looking at what they can do and how they can react and how they respond to certain situations, and also helping to set up appropriate boundaries We also apply some of the protective factors theories in there as well, and looking at how they can strengthen some of the protective factors in their life.
So you have the parent focus, but as you mentioned, also working with the teens, and I understand you're working with the school system as well, and in reaching out to those teens. Tell us about the teen program.
So yeah, we also work with one-on-one. We do the one-on-one youth mentoring. So working with youth anywhere from at risk, they could possibly be referred to us through youth court, or we're working with youth that are, their parents are just kind of starting to see a little bit of a slide back in their grades or their schools, or like not so motivated. And so we can work with youth in that way as well. And that's working with them one-on-one in coaching, that strength-based model, using a lot of motivational interviewing techniques in there, and working with them one-on-one. And then what we started doing, and we just launched at the beginning of the school year, which is the Undaunted Collective. And that's an evidence-based program that we're using. So it's a group setting, and it's bringing kids, not necessarily in the at-risk population. This is more in prevention. So youth that are really looking for a sense of belonging, looking for that place to kind of come and start to identify what their voice is and who they are, join to support each other. So a lot of the times what we're finding are the youth really want to find out ways that they can help their friends, right? So maybe they have struggled, but they really want to help their friends. So the Undaunted Collective is working with social, emotional, body connections, getting them to pause before they take action. So really getting them to check in with themselves. And then also learning what it's like to work in, a collective, in a group of like-minded individuals, and really a place for them to empower themselves. So this is really exciting. And like I said, it launched in September, and took about a month to really get the kids to come in. We're working with District 5 school districts, so Kalispell. It's a high school program, so we've got Linderman, Glacier, Flathead, and then we also do a middle school program at KMS. And so that we are actually going to, next week, we will start to show up at the school. So we'll be in the kind of community area, and we'll start with like a little pizza party next week, because that's been a slow one to get the kids to actually come to our office. And then we're also launching it in Big Fork. So Big Fork's been a great success, and we're meeting with, again, middle school right after school at 3:30, and then the high school students come in at 6 o'clock.
And then you also have, I understand, community workshops. Is that something separate, different program?
It is, yeah. The community workshops, we've still been working on getting it launched. We've been talking about it. We've been collaborating with United Way and the Flathead Prevention and Recovery Alliance to host those at the Gathering Place at the Gateway Community Center. But there's been a lot of other workshops in the works lately, especially in September. We had the Flathead Prevention, that was the suicide prevention. Dr. Poland came in. And so we're still working on getting those off the ground, but we're hoping those will be a monthly workshop open to the community that will be educating and just collaborating with other organizations, having certain organizations like maybe CryJ coming in and talking about their restorative youth justice and what that looks like and what they actually do with the kids, maybe even having Ravenwood come in and talk about their their nature talks and their nature walks that they do with the kids as well. And so just a workshop that would be bringing the community together, getting them just information about what's out there, and then also having guest speakers. We have Pamela Carty from Oxytocin, which is an IOP program, an intensive outpatient program, that will come in and talk about the adolescent brain and the effects of drugs on the adolescent brain. So different kind of workshops that will be education based, and then really an opportunity for other parents and community members to know what other organizations are out in our community, which is part of strengthening those protective factors, knowing what resources to go to when you are in need.
Absolutely. And then there's been a lot of concern, I think, around mental health for our youth because of the pandemic and all the stuff going on with that, the lockdowns and the social distancing and all that. Have you seen a lot of that? And just, I know your groups and programs are just getting up and running, but what's the impression you've had locally in terms of our youth and their mental health and over the past 2 years?
What I've been hearing are the kids need a lot of support. They want this sense of belonging. I think that's something that they've really missed with the lockdown. They want to also know what to do when they do see their friends suffering, which that's another part that we are working with, is creating a coalition where we can actually take some youth to Washington, D.C. There's some funding, and have them be trained as peer-to-peer support. So then they can take that back into their schools and they can actually be a support system. And they don't necessarily feel comfortable going to adults in their school, or they don't feel like there's a place to go. And I know the schools are doing a great job with providing those services, but the kids, from just what I'm seeing, are really struggling with finding that sense of belonging and what to do with what's actually happening with them. I mean, the whole last month in September was such a tragic month, and for the whole community, and there was a lot of loss with teen deaths by suicide, and so just knowing what to do with that whole process, I think that just as a community and for our teens, they don't really know what to do and how to process it. And so just providing as much support as possible. What we're finding with our programs and talking with the schools, they're so happy to be working with us, and that these services, the Undaunted Collective specifically, is here. Parents are asking for support, so we're going to launch our parent group sessions, which is Protective Factor series. We'll be launching that in the spring for parents. But yeah, the Undaunted Collective, the schools are really excited about it, but we're just not getting a lot of follow through. So even though some of these services are here, it's a matter of like taking action and really starting to make that change that I've been seeing is something that's been just kind of holding the community back in some way.
And so you're just kind of getting these programs up and running. What do you see for a year from now, 2 years from now, where you want to be in your outreach and the programs? And also, if folks wanted to get involved or contact you about participation, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So with the Undaunted Collective, we would really like to start to expand by next year and take it into Columbia Falls and Whitefish. And we're even talking to Evergreen about how to get Undaunted Collective Middle School into their school and their community. So working with the Boys and Girls Club there. So it would be really great if we can have, 5 days a week hitting every school. That's one of our goals. Also, like I mentioned, the Protective Factors series for parents. So starting to also do those, they'd be an 8-week work group, and doing those in each community as well. So, it's hard for parents to come all the way to Kalispell. So making that more accessible to parents. And then actually something that I'm quite involved with is the Communities That Care program that's starting to come to the Flathead Valley. And the Flathead Valley just received funding for the CTC program. And I'm working with the Flathead Prevention Specialists to get the word out and start to build these core community work groups and these bringing together our key leaders in the community. So Undaunted is going to be on the ground, on the foundational level of some of the evidence-based programs that the CTC will support. But really, I mean, the ultimate goal is to get all of these wonderful organizations that are doing such great work to collaborate together and to start to network together so that we can start to refer each other and help to strengthen our community as a whole. So that's what the CTC program is going to do, is just to get these key leaders in, be able to collect data, what our greatest need for the Valley is in regards to mental health and youth violence and disturbances and youth substance use, and then be able to bring in evidence-based programs and help support programs that are already out there by helping them to bring in the evidence-based programs like, Boys and Girls Club and Evergreen, and helping them to expand. And so, the CTC will help all of these organizations out there already to target what our specific need is in the Valley, and whether that's, mental health, which I think we can all agree, especially with the rates of suicide right now, and substance abuse, which again, I think we can agree. So helping to support the Communities That Care program and Undaunted just being a part of that, and collaborating with other organizations and helping to build them up, and what they are doing and what we are doing, and how we're all doing such great work, but we can't do it individually. We have to do it together.
And so for folks wanting to get in touch with you, you have a website, I know.
Yeah, undauntedfamily.org is our website. They can email me at hope@undauntedfamily.org. And our phone number is 406-282-4595. We're also on Facebook at Undaunted Family Connections and Instagram at Be Undaunted. And I think we have a Twitter too, but I can't remember the Twitter handle. And we did also create in the middle of everything that was happening last month, the Flathead SOS, which is support our students. So any kind of resources or events that are going on, anything that might help to benefit students, or for parents just asking how they can get their kids involved, or anything that they might have questions on, they can go onto that page as well.
That's the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much for, founding this organization and bringing more resources to students and teens and their mental health. It's important, and that resource, that support for parents it definitely seems like an area of need, especially now. So thank you so much for your work, and I wish you the best of luck building this program, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of success.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.